Mike Bloomberg's party affiliation has changed since he was a Republican mayor of New York, but his opposition to Donald Trump has been consistent.
Trump says he wants to run the nation like he's running his business? God help us.
The 77-year-old billionaire has funneled millions of dollars of his personal fortune into progressive causes, like gun control and climate change, but is considered a moderate. And were he to run as a Democrat, a potential threat to former Vice President Joe Biden.
Where he fits as sort of an even-keeled, even-tempered political leader with a track record of getting things done in the city of New York, especially with regard to economic issues, economic development, and things of that sort, which has a certain amount of appeal to more moderate, mainstream type Democratic voters.
Bloomberg has expressed his dissatisfaction with the current field of Democrats, suggesting some are too far to the left to beat the president, who shrugged off speculation the former mayor would enter the race.
Little Michael will fail. He'll spend a lot of money.
Michael Bloomberg made his fortune here at Bloomberg LP, the financial information and media company he co-founded. He's the richest man in New York, with wealth far exceeding President Trump's. But among some Democrats, that could be a liability.
What we need is a dynamic democracy.
Particularly among the party base.
Not some billionaire who decides that he wants to run for president of the United States.
While Bloomberg may be targeting white suburban voters who went for Trump in 2016, he recently apologized for a policy that put him at odds with the minority community. Called stop and frisk, many saw this police tactic as a form of racism and harassment.
I got something important wrong. I got something important really wrong. I didn't understand that back then, the full impact that stops were having on the Black and Latino communities.
An apparent recognition of the need to unify the opposition and a late apology that appears aimed at smoothing the way for a late entry in the race. Kristen, Saloomey, Al Jazeera, New York.
Let's go to John Hendren live in Washington, D.C. John, there is so much about this that is so intriguing, and the timing is interesting here. He's entering this race after Democrats have been slugging it out. What does it do to the Democratic field? Who has the most to fear here?
Well, that's true, Stan. Conceivably, this race could come down to two aging white billionaires from New York, and how much more Democratic could that be? This really does throw a monkey wrench into the race for the Democrats and for President Trump. After all, Bloomberg is very like Trump in terms of age, demographics, even where he's from. He is a billionaire. He's got about $50 billion. He ranks 11th on the Forbes list of the wealthiest people. That compares to Trump at about 93, I think it is, with about $3 billion. Those two men know each other. They have been fighting for years over various things. But Bloomberg is a moderate, and that puts him straight in the competition with people like Joe Biden. And the fact that he's in the race suggests dissatisfaction among Democrats with who they've got. I think by now, a lot of Democrats thought that Joe Biden would have run away with the Democratic nomination process, that he would be leading ahead in polls, even though we haven't held any elections yet. And Bloomberg is entering at a time where it's just really a couple of months until February 3rd, which is when the Iowa caucuses begin. That is the first primary. He's got a lot of catch-up to do, and he's already spent $30 million in an initial tranche of advertisements for this race. But he has also ticked off the competition. Bernie Sanders was mentioned in that story. He tweeted out a couple days ago, I'm disgusted by the idea that Michael Bloomberg or any billionaire thinks they can circumvent the political process and spend millions of dollars to buy elections. And then there's Elizabeth Warren, also on the left. She says, I understand rich people have more shoes than the rest of us, but they don't get a bigger share of democracy. So this is really a fight for the center in the Democratic Party. Bloomberg is strong on gun controls, immigration, climate change, but his positions aren't terribly radical. It's really anything could happen at this stage in this race, but it's a sign of the dissatisfaction with the current field that he's there.
John, thank you for that. John Hendren live there from Washington, D.C. Polls have